Athenian democracy wasn't some happy accident. Not at all. It was actually a brilliant and pretty radical piece of political engineering. It was designed from the ground up to solve one massive, recurring problem, this endless destructive cycle of tyranny.
So to really get how this new democracy was built, we've got to look at how the old system completely shattered. And it all kicks off with a surprisingly successful tyrant named Pisistratus, who made one single fatal mistake that would change the course of Athenian history forever.
See, here's the thing. The people of Athens, they actually respected Pisistratus. But that respect, it wasn't something you could just pass down like a family heirloom. Instead of letting his sons earn their place, he just handed them the keys to the kingdom. It was this huge political gamble, like pushing all your chips to the center of the table. And honestly, it was destined to fail. And it did, plunging Athens right back into chaos. Okay, so let's dig into this. How did this one mistake by a, well-meaning, if maybe a little misguided father lead to a whole series of disasters that just unraveled everything he had built? Well, the son's 8-year rule was, frankly, a train wreck. It was marked by two huge failures. First up, you've got a foreign policy disaster. They totally bungled a conflict with the city of Thebes, turning a longtime ally into a bitter enemy that would be a thorn in Athens' side for centuries. Then, there was this really embarrassing internal scandal. The younger brother, Hipparchus, gets assassinated in public over a messy love affair. So the regime was critically weak and fast losing its grip. So you've got this power vacuum opening up in Athens, right? And that creates the perfect opportunity for a political rival. Someone who had been waiting patiently in the wings for decades, just waiting for his chance to return. And here he is. Let's meet our protagonist, Cleisthenes. He's 57 years old now, and he's from one of Athens' most prominent families, the Alcmaeonidae. They had been forced into exile by Pisistratus decades earlier. After 38 long years away, he was more than ready to come home. And his plan? Oh, it was incredibly shrewd. He knew he couldn't take Athens back on his own. He just didn't have the muscle. So what does he do? He cleverly leverages the most powerful army in all of Greece, the Spartans, to fight his battle for him. Genius. But overthrowing the old tyrant? Well, that was just the beginning. That was just round one. Cleisthenes immediately found himself in a new struggle. But this time, it was against the very allies who had just helped him win. The conflict was immediate, and it was fundamental. Look, Sparta didn't help out of the goodness of its heart. It wanted to install a friendly oligarchy, basically a puppet government run by their guy, a man named Isagoras. But Cleisthenes, he had a completely different vision, a brand new, independent Athens, built from the ground up on his terms. And here's where things get really interesting. The turning point came when the Spartans actually marched into Athens and tried to dissolve the government. But the ordinary citizens, the so-called silent majority, they had finally had enough. They rose up, surrounding the Spartan forces and trapping them right there in the city. And this, right here, this was the crucial moment. Cleisthenes' ultimate victory wasn't won with Sparta's army, not at all. It was won with the backing of his own people, the Athenian citizens. He had shown everyone where the true power in Athens now lay. All right, so Cleisthenes is finally in control. Now the real work begins. He starts his famous reforms, and they were all designed to solve the one problem that had plagued Athens for generations, the very thing he'd just fought against. His number one goal was actually pretty simple, but it was totally revolutionary. He wanted to dismantle the very structure of society that allowed powerful, wealthy families to dominate politics. He was going to break the chokehold of the old aristocratic clans and their blood ties, once and for all. And just look at this table. Here you can see the fundamental rewiring in action. The old system, it was based on 4 ancient tribes, all based on bloodlines. Cleisthenes just tossed that out and replaced it with 10 new tribes based purely on where you lived. The main council, it went from 400 elected elites to 500 citizens chosen by random lottery. I mean, this was a total social and political revolution. So how on earth did he do it? Well, the source uses this brilliant analogy. Think of the old clans as a big, tough piece of steak. They're powerful because they're all one piece, living and voting together. So Cleisthenes took that steak, chopped it all up, and mixed it together into mince. 10 new tribes where your neighbors were probably from different old clans. This just completely shattered their traditional power base overnight. And this new system plugged directly into the government. The new Council of 500 was made up of 50 members chosen by random lottery from each of those 10 new tribes. So by mixing everyone up and choosing representatives by pure chance, it became nearly impossible for any single elite group to dominate the government ever again. But Cleisthenes wasn't done. He felt the system needed one final dramatic failsafe. He added a really controversial new tool, a kind of democratic emergency brake, designed to protect the whole system. He called it ostracism, and wow, this was a truly radical idea. Once a year, the citizens of Athens could get together and vote to banish any single person from the city for 10 years. There was no trial, no charge, no crime necessary. You could literally be exiled just for being too popular or for having the potential to become a tyrant. And the process was brutally simple. It was so direct. The source we're looking at summarizes its efficiency in just 3 words: meet, vote, expel. Citizens would gather, scratch a name onto a broken piece of pottery, called an ostracon, and if your name came up enough times, you were gone. And get this, the scale was massive. For a vote to even be valid, a minimum of 6,000 citizens had to show up. That's a huge crowd. If they hit that number, a simple majority was enough to exile anyone. It didn't matter how rich or powerful you were, for a full decade. The really crucial point here is the logic behind it, what some have called judging the heart. Ostracism wasn't about punishing a crime that had already happened. No, it was about preventing a future one before it could even get started. It was the ultimate defense mechanism for their fragile new democracy. Okay, so let's pull this all together. What are the big takeaways? We've seen that Athenian democracy wasn't an accident. It was an engineered solution to tyranny. Cleisthenes shattered the power of the old clans by reorganizing society. He empowered average citizens through things like a lottery-based council, and then he gave them this controversial but powerful weapon, ostracism, to protect their whole new system. So, having perfected its internal political structure, having built this incredible democratic shield, Athens was about to face its greatest external test. A showdown with the mighty Persian Empire was just on the horizon, a conflict that would either shatter their new world or forge it into an empire the likes of which no one had ever seen.